systems of farming that are violent to nature also generate violence within society. I started Navdanya really to make two kinds of peace that was being destroyed. The first is peace with nature, peace with biodiversity. And every Navdanya farmer is a peace builder in terms of saving seeds and making peace with biodiversity rather than declaring war with biodiversity. To make peace also means getting rid of the roots of structural violence. And since so much of what is going wrong in agriculture, whether it is the violence to nature or it is the violence to farmers, is coming from the greed of giant corporations. Limiting that greed is part of peacekeeping. And that's why we frame our work in terms of seed sovereignty, beet swaraj, food sovereignty, Anna Swaraj, land sovereignty, Bhu Swaraj. The sovereignty aspect is an element of peacekeeping too. In Navdanya, both temporally as well as conceptually, we began with nature and the seed. We then went into methods of production through organic farming. And only finally did we build the fair trade element. We didn't begin with the market, because for us, market is not primary, nature is. Profits are not primary, people are. So for seed saving, we have changed the very notion of seed as private property to seed as a community resource, and that's why all seed saving is based around community seed banks. Because Navdanya's philosophy is based on saying patents on seeds and patents on life are wrong. Seeds and biodiversity are the commons and it belongs to the community. And it's not something we have to teach from outside, we just have to help people remember this. And that remembrance then becomes the basis of creating a culture of peace. Beauty of Garhwal is that because it's a mountain region, it still has elements of what I would call a nature's economy functioning. And in nature's economy, everything is in the commons. Your seed is in the commons, your forest is in the commons, your water is in the commons. That is the legacy we built. That all conflict comes out of trying to own in divisiveness what belongs to everyone in the common good. So by holding in the common good, the seed, the biodiversity, the communities of Garhwal are able to understand much more quickly what the alternative to privatization is. So there is that deep capital, and all commons go with community. There's still a very strong community spirit. That's what we build on. The IPCC, for lack of research, put a date of 2035 on the melting of the Himalayan glaciers. The Indian Environment Ministry, to counter that, put out a report to say nothing's happening to the glaciers, they're intact. So there's no danger, we don't have to worry, there's nothing like climate change. We did the participatory study on the Himalaya, where the village communities monitored and said, no, this glacier used to be 20 feet thick 10 years ago, and today it has 1 foot of snow. Or our mountains used to get snow till 3 years ago, and now we have no snow. And that participatory research is able to mobilize hundreds of thousands of people as knowledge subjects. Put that knowledge into society and through that into policy making. The crises of our times are too severe. They are unraveling too fast for a handful of politicians, a handful of bureaucrats, or a handful of experts to be able to respond to them in any authentic way. As Einstein said, the worldview that creates a problem cannot be used to solve it. The institutions, I would add, that create a problem cannot be the institutions that solve it. It's assumed that if you don't go through a university and do not get a PhD, you're somehow not an expert. But every village woman is an expert about her village, about the biodiversity of her village, about farming techniques. And that knowledge is being bypassed, and it's the knowledge we need. In 2000, the communities then got together to create the Living Democracy Movement, which is the Jaiv Panchayat. Jaiv means living, Panchayat is the local democracy. These Jaiv Panchayats are the instrument of mobilization. So when the BT eggplant is introduced, the Jaiv Panchayats, right, 6,000 of them wrote to the Environment Minister to say, sorry, we do not accept the GMO, we are GMO-free villages, and we do not accept this approval. Or when water is to be privatized, the villages can get together and say, the stream is our commons, you cannot pipe it and take it to the town. What will we do for water? We can't privatize our tank. So the farmers will organize. It's a living democracy. And a living democracy that is beyond the political manipulation of corrupt politicians and really works focused on people's aspirations, people's needs and people's rights and people's duties. Alliance building is very important. When we had to fight the seed laws or we had to fight the WTO, it was very clear that no matter how many coordinators we have in our network, we have to have partnerships with others who are involved in these issues. So I created a national alliance of all the farm organizations. And in 1993, before the GATT was finalized and the WTO formed, we managed to pull together 500,000 people on the streets of Bangalore through that alliance. I took 1 million signatures to the Prime Minister when they tried to bring a seed law that would make it illegal for Indian farmers to have their own seed. To say we will not accept it, like Gandhi did not accept the salt laws, we will not accept laws that make it illegal for us to have our own seeds. We also have created alliances at the international level. I chair the International Commission on the Future of Food, which is one of the most powerful alliances today, with the best movements of the world working together in coordination. Navdanya is the counterpart of Slow Food for India. We are Slow Food India. I have fought the cases, like the case on neem, with two very big alliances, the Green Party of Europe and the International Federation of Organic Agriculture Movements. The latter being the biggest organic movement alliance, and the Green Party being the biggest European representation of the environment movement. And the fact that we've made a difference is because we've always had these alliances. We've just finished public hearings on land grab, which was an alliance of at least 20 groups who worked together. We could not have done it alone. We know about 20 of the organizations that participated. Everywhere in this country, land is being grabbed. No one is free of the threat of land grab. And to pull that kind of tribunal together, you have to work on a very, very broad framework. I see myself as having three roles. I think the issue of patenting of seed, the issue of genetic engineering is something the farmers could not have anticipated. No way. It was too far down the line. Fortunately, I was thrown into situations where I could get this information faster than it came to the marketplace. And therefore I could create Navdanya. And I think that kind of leadership through anticipation is definitely a role Navdanya has played. The second is being platforms for articulating farmers' issues, farmers' rights, and farmers' crises. We have persisted to constantly register the tragedy of farmer suicides on society. For 5 years, the government totally ignored it. Places like Punjab, it's still ignoring it. But if we hadn't done the public hearings, if we hadn't done, for the public hearings, the participatory research, how many people have committed suicide in your region, documented, all of that, we wouldn't have been able to create the platforms which allowed the expression of this agrarian crisis and then the search for solutions. The third role I play, which I believe is a very important role for leadership, is to be there for support and solidarity when people build movements, because we are living through times where power structures have become so arrogant that they talk democracy but don't practice it. They don't listen to anybody. And there is just this pain of having no one to talk to. Tomorrow I should have been in a village where the only thing people want of me is saying, please just come and see how rotten things have become in our area with the mining, with the aluminium plants, with the dams. There's no place for us to live anymore. We're not asking you for anything. We don't want a grant, we don't want money, we don't want anything. All we want is a human being who cares. And I believe compassion is a very important part of leadership. It's what makes me act to resist the destruction if it's going to happen, and where it has happened, to offer solidarity and support, to tell people you're not alone, we are in this together, we work together for solutions. Gandhi is the prophet of non-violence, and Gandhi took on the British and he told them to quit India.